Let's look at some word problems with decimals. You start the month with $71.85 in your bank account. Your job direct deposits 2 paychecks, one for $121.81 and one for $215.89. You spend $315.71 throughout the month. How much money is left in your account at the end of the month? So if I think about this, I can kind of just go through the process of what's happening. I start with this $71.85. And then my job direct deposits 2 paychecks. So that means that they're depositing money. So my account balance is going to go up. So I'm going to add the money that they're direct depositing into my account. Then they're telling me that I spent the $315.71. So if I spent that much, the money's going down in my account. So I need to subtract it. And then I do have my calculator, so I'm going to add this and subtract it all in there. So I have 71.85 plus the 121.81 plus the 215.89 minus the 315.71. When I do that, I end up with $93.84. That's the amount that is left in the account. Let's look at another example. It says, after filling a gas tank, the odometer read 23,456.9. After the next filling, it read 23,872.5. It took 13.5 gallons to fill the tank. How many miles per gallon did the driver get? And we're going to assume, even though they don't necessarily tell us here, let's round this to the nearest tenth if needed. Okay. So if they look at this, they're telling me what the odometer read. So the odometer is what tells us the distance. So that's telling us that the units for the odometer are really miles. So we have our first set of miles and our second number for miles. And then they also told us that it took the 13.5 gallons to fill the tank. Now they're asking us how many miles per gallon did the driver get. So remember that word per can mean multiplication or division. In this case, it means division. So we need to do the miles divided by the gallons. So what I actually need to do is figure out how many miles were driven, because I definitely didn't drive over 23,000 miles on 13 gallons. So what I'm going to do is take that higher mile amount, that 23,872.5, and subtract that lower mile amount, that 23,456.9. That's going to tell me how many miles total I drove. And then I'm going to divide that by the number of gallons. So I'm going to do my subtraction first. So 23,872.5 minus that 23,456.9. And that's going to give me 415.6 up in that numerator, the top part of the fraction. And then I'm going to divide that answer by 13.5, and that gives me 30.7851851851852 miles per gallon. But we said we were going to round to the nearest tenth if we needed. Remember, tenth is one place after the decimal point, so that 8 tells us to bump that 7 up. So I'd say that we have 30.8 miles per gallon as our final answer here. Now, one thing I do want to make sure I point out is with our calculators, they're smart, but they'll do exactly what we tell them to do. So our calculators will do the order of operations. So if I had tried to type out this first fraction all in one step, we would have gotten a different answer. So if I had done 23,872.5 minus 23,456.9 and then divided it by 13.5, our calculator is going to do that division first because of the order of operations. Right? We get a very different number. So I recommend that you either do it in 2 steps like we did originally, or if you want to do it in 1 step, you can use parentheses. So if you put the parentheses around the subtraction, you're telling your calculator to do the subtraction first, and then we can divide it by that 13.5 and get the same answer. So let's look at another example. It says, what will it cost to carpet a rectangular floor measuring 27 feet by 30 feet if the carpet costs $26.08, so $26.08 per square yard? So if I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, right, we have a room that's 27 feet by 30 feet. But we want to figure out the costs. That's in square yards. So the first thing I'm going to do is convert the feet to yards. So you may know there's 3 feet in 1 yard. So I'm going to use that dimensional analysis we talked about a little bit. I'm going to take that 30 feet and I'm going to multiply it by 3 feet in 1 yard because I want these feet to be diagonal from each other so they'll cancel out. So I have 30 over 3, which gives me 10 yards. It's also perfectly okay if you knew that you just needed to divide feet by 3 to get it to yards. And I'm going to do the same thing with that 27 feet. So 27 feet over 1 times 1 yard over 3 feet gives me that 27 over 3, which gives me 9 yards. And same thing, you could have just said, I know I need to do 27 divided by 3 to get 9 yards. So I'm not really thinking 30 feet, I'm thinking 10 yards. And I'm not thinking 27 feet, I'm thinking 9 yards. Now they're telling me that the carpet costs $26.08 per square yard. To get those square units, remember I'm really finding the area. So if I want the area of this, I'm going to do the 9 yards times the 10 yards, and that's going to give me an area of 90 square yards. Now I can find the cost. So that was our second step. For our third step, we're going to find the cost. So if it's $26.08 per square yard, I'm going to take that amount and I'm going to multiply it by the number of square yards. So if I do that, I have the 26.08 times 90. That's going to tell me that I'm going to spend $2,347.20 to carpet this room. Let's look at another example. They ask us which is the better value, a 14.3 ounce can of chicken broth for $1.25 or a 32 ounce can of chicken broth for $2.65. So when they're asking us which is the better value, they're asking us which one has the lower unit price. And if we're trying to find the unit price, we find that by doing the price, the dollar amount, divided by whatever they're measuring it in. So in this case, they're telling us about stuff that has different ounce sizes. So if I look at this first one, they tell me that we have a 14.3 ounce can of chicken broth for $1.25. So I'm going to take that $1.25 and I'm going to divide it by the 32 ounces. If I do that, 125 divided by 32 gives me, oh no, I apologize. It's that 14.3 ounce can was that much. So I'm going to have to divide by 14.3 there. So I have 1.25 divided by 14.3. That gives me 0.087412,587,4126. So they're telling me, that this is a little bit more than 8 cents per ounce. Now I'm going to look at the 32 ounce can for $2.65. So I'm going to take that $2.65, I'm going to divide it by 32 ounces. And when I do that, $2.65 divided by 32, that gives me 0.0828125 per ounce, right? So that's also a little over 8 cents per ounce. Now, if I want which one has the lower price, I have to compare these numbers, right? The zeros are the same, the eighths are the same, but in that thousands places where there's a difference, this 2 is lower than the 7. So that's telling us that this is the lower price, so it's the better value. So we would say the 32 ounce can is the better value. Let's look at another example. It says find the circumference and area of a circle with a diameter of 4.5 inches. Use 3.14 as an estimate of pi. So if we're thinking about the circle, right, they're telling us it has a diameter of 4.5 inches. So diameter goes from edge to edge. So for circumference, we have two different formulas for a circle. The circumference is pi times the diameter, or the circumference is 2 times pi times the radius. Right? The diameter is when we have something that goes from edge to edge through the middle of the circle. The radius is when we have something that goes from the middle just over to one side of the circle. So if we're trying to find the circumference, I could use either one of these formulas. I'm going to use the pi times the diameter because that's what we're given in the problem. So we would say that the circumference is pi times that 4.5 inches. Now, if they asked us for an exact answer, I would just leave it 4.5 pi inches, where I would just put the number part before that pi, kind of like if we were writing a number times x, we'd put that x second. So if in the homework you see that they ask for an exact answer, that's what you'll do. And in your homework, the pi button will pop up at the bottom where you'll normally see stuff like to type fractions. You'll see a pi button. It's not on your keyboard. Now, they didn't ask us for an exact answer in this problem though. They told us to use 3.14 as an estimate for pi. So I'm going to do 4.5 times 3.14. And if I do that, 4.5 times 3.14 gives me 14.13 inches. Remember, circumference is like perimeter. It measures the distance around the edge, so those units inches stay the same. Now they're also asking us for area of a circle. We only have one formula for area of a circle, and it's pi times the radius squared. So the first thing I have to do is find the radius. And the radius is half the diameter, right? Because it just goes from the center to one side of the circle. So I'm going to take that 4.5 and I'm going to divide it by 2. When we do that, we find that the radius is 2.25 inches. So when I'm trying to find the area, if I wanted an exact answer, I would say pi times that 2.25 inches squared, and I would square it. So 2.25 squared, and I'd say that my area is 5.0625 pi, and then inches squared is my units there. So this is what I would give as an exact answer. But they asked us to estimate, so I'm really going to do that 5.0625 times 3.14, the number they told me to plug in for pi. And that's going to tell me that the area is 15.89625 inches squared for our estimate. If we look at another example, they're telling us to find the area of the circle with a radius of 3/4 centimeters, and this time they're telling us to use 22/7 as an estimate for pi. So if we look at this, I've got a circle, right, and they're telling me that we have a radius of 3/4 centimeters. Now they're telling me to find the area, which we know is pi r squared, and in this case they did give us that r, so we don't have to do any extra steps there. We can just dive right into using this formula. So our area is going to be pi, so they're telling us to use the estimate 22/7 times the radius, so 3/4 squared. So we can just type this right in our calculator. I'm going to say that I have parentheses 22 divided by 7 times my parentheses 3 divided by 4 squared. And if I do that, I get this decimal number. But they gave me the question in fraction form, so I want my answer in fraction form as well. So I'm going to hit math and choose that first option to convert it to a fraction. And it's going to give me 99/56. I know that 3/4 had my unit centimeters, so when I squared it, it's going to give me the units centimeters squared. Now this would be perfectly okay if they asked us for just a simplified fraction. But this is not a proper fraction. So if they asked us for a simplified proper fraction or mixed number, we'd have an extra step to do here. So remember, this is improper because that 99 is bigger than that 56. So to turn it into a mixed number, I'm going to take that top number, the 99, put it inside my division, and divide it by 56. So I know 56 goes into 99 one time, and when I subtract, I have a remainder of 43. So that 1 is the whole number part. That remainder 43 is my numerator, and that denominator 56 stays exactly the same. So if they ask me for an answer as a mixed number, I would say it's 1 and 43/56 centimeters squared. Now we have another example. It says find the area of a triangle with a base of 10 inches and a height of 17 inches. So if we think about our formula for area of a triangle, it's 1/2 base times height. So they're telling me we have a triangle with a base of 10 inches. So for that B for base, I'll put in 10 inches. And a height of 17 inches. So I'll put in 17 inches there. And then I can just multiply this out. So I have 1/2 times 10 times 17. And that gives us 85. And then the inches times inches gives us inches squared. We have another example where they tell us to find the volume of the cylinder below. So when we're trying to find the volume, right, our general formula is that we want the area of the base times the height. So in this case, the area of a base is our circle. So it's the pi r squared times the height. Now both our units are in centimeters, so we're good. So I'll say that the volume is pi times that radius, so that's this 2 centimeters that's up here, squared times the height, that's this 4 inches. Or I'm sorry, 4 centimeters. So if they asked us for an exact answer, I would just multiply the number parts. So I'd have 2 squared times 4, which gives us 16. So we could say 16 pi, and then we have centimeters times centimeters times centimeters. So we'd say centimeters cubed. So this is what we would give if they asked for an exact answer. If they asked us to estimate, normally they tell us to use 3.14 for pi. So let's try that. If we estimated, we'd say 16 times 3.14. And that would give us a volume of 50.24 centimeters cubed. So just as a quick reminder, right, we talked about this earlier in this unit as well. When we're talking about perimeter or circumference, our units are just the plain old units. So it would be something like centimeters. When we're talking about area, that's when we have our units squared. So we'd have something like centimeters squared. And we're talking about volume, that's when we have our units cubed. So it'd be something like centimeters cubed.